written in the early 1900s, I think 1908. Earlier than that? Early 1900s.
Passed down.
Okay, well, yeah, but published in Chicago in the early 1900s by a group of men called the Three Initiates. This is said to be the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus in modern times, the Kybalion, K-Y-B-A-L-I-O-N, if you want to look that up. Also, question number 7 would be, give the dates of the Hellenistic period in both history and mystery. So history says Hellenistic period is what?
323 BC.
Oh, you said mystery.
Yes, 323 BC. History says 323 BC, which is the death of Alexander III, to 146 AD, which is the conquest of Rome. Okay? Mystery says what?
323 BC to 415 AD.
To 415 AD. Death of Hypatia, the great mathematician. Okay. Question number 8. What marked the end of the Hellenistic period? We just said that. But make sure you write that down. Number 8. What marked the end of the Hellenistic period? And who is Hypatia? We just said that, the great mathematician. Okay, another math question. If there was 1,000 years between the end of the Hellenistic period and the European Renaissance in science and mathematics, in what year did the European Renaissance begin?
Say that one more time.
If there was 1,000 years between the end of the Hellenistic period and the beginning of the European Renaissance in science and mathematics, what was the year of the European Renaissance?
1415.
Oh, we got to 320.
The end of the Hellenistic period, which is 415 AD.
There was 1,000 years between then and what?
And the European Renaissance.
What was the question?
In what year did the European Renaissance begin?
15th century. 1400, right?
It's like
1415.
1415. You had 1,000 to 415. Okay.
I'm ready to get down.
So, despite all of these facts, despite everything that we've mentioned thus far, okay, we have just broken down the history versus the mystery, and we see that we're 50,000 years deep, 2,000 years of written mathematics before they even started talking about mathematics, okay? And we have the Ahmose papyrus, the Ryan mathematical papyrus, we have Imhotep, we have Hermes, all as proofs. And these are all easy Google keywords or encyclopedia keywords that you can use, and you can find all of those as proofs for what we're saying. So despite the existence of Hermes and Trismegistus and Imhotep and the Ahmose papyrus, guys like this man Florian Cajori, F-L-O-R-I-A-N, Cajori, C-A-J-O-R-I. Ms. Beatrice Lumpkin goes on to say, Florian Cajori follows the version of history which completely omits the original contributions of African and Asian mathematicians who wrote in the Arabic language. Now, he wrote of the Muslim scholars. This is a sentiment that's expressed by Western civilization. When the love for science began to grow in the Occident, meaning the Semitic area, they transmitted to the Europeans the valuable treasures of antiquity. Thus, a Semitic race was, during the Dark Ages, the custodian of the Aryan intellectual possessions. And he just said that. The valuable treasures of antiquity were held by a Semitic race during the Dark Ages, and it made them the custodians of Aryan intellectual property. What audacity. This is what they had been teaching our children all the way up into the 1960s. That there was some strange Semitic race in the Occident, which is the area between like the Tigris and Euphrates, where they say the Garden of Eden was. We're talking about Iraq, Baghdad, the cradle of civilization area. Okay? They say there was some mysterious Semitic race that were the custodians of Aryan intellectual possessions, meaning they just simply took everything that the Greeks from back in the day thought up and just held it for a while on ice during the Dark Ages. And then once the Europeans were ready for it, they just gave it back to them.
Right.
This is what Florian Cajori is suggesting. And then another widely read writer named Morris Klein, he says that compared with the Greeks, the mathematics of Egyptians and Babylonians is the scrawling of children just learning how to write. When we just learned the mystery schools, this is, you can Google keyword, this is widely known. The mystery schools existed from the 3rd century BC to the 1st century AD. Imhotep built the pyramids 2500 BC. Okay? This guy is saying that the Egyptians, their writing was like the scrawling of children. Their mathematics was like the scrawl. But we still can't build pyramids to this day.
That's true.
But the Egyptians and Babylonians' writing was like the scrawling of children just learning how to write compared to Greek. But we know the Greeks, everything the Greeks have, as we just displayed, came from us. Or came from the indigenous people. I'm going to have to do a lot of cutting out, man, with that, with that us. I try not to take sides, man. But as I mentioned last week, I told you, I believe a lot of this, so it's hard. Yeah, we got these two guys, Florian Cajori and Morris Klein, who are authors who are good examples of the way that the Western world has taught our history to our kids and even tried to, put it over on ourselves. So, questions number 12 and 13 become, according to the baseline essays, how do Western historians explain this 1,000-year period called the Dark Ages? And they say, obviously, you can put something to the effect of a Semitic race was the custodian of Aryan intellectual properties. That's how they explain the Muslim hegemony.
Did you say Western or European?
Western or Greek. You could say Greek intellectual property. And then finally, question number 13 then becomes, who are the two scholars quoted in the baseline essays who have expressed this view? We just said it.
No.
No, Florian Cajori and I think his other name.
And Morris Klein. Okay, so that would conclude the quiz in terms of what I...
K-L-I-N-E or C?
K-L-I-N-E, yep. In terms of what I would have for you guys for the quiz. Any other questions on the quiz will have to come from y'all. And finally, I just want to read this conclusion from, again, the Honorable Miss Beatrice Lumpkin, the author of the Mathematics Baseline Essay. Fortunately, in the 1960s, more balanced, comprehensive evaluations of mathematics history appeared. The 1960s were also a period of civil rights activism and renewed interest in African American history as an academic subject. The mathematics writer Lancelot Hogben, that's H-O-G-B-E-N, Lancelot like the knight. He stressed that Western civilization will increasingly have to undertake re-evaluation of cultural debt it has hitherto amply acknowledged only by the Greco-Roman world. Western civilization, what he means by that is, in common language, the Greco-Roman world knows our history. And what he's saying is that Western civilization, Europeans have a debt to African contributions in history that only the Greco-Roman world knows right now.
What's the Greco-Roman world?
Greco-Roman world, Greek and Roman. Greeks and Romans know the history, but only they know. So he's saying Western civilization has to kind of undertake a reevaluation of that cultural debt, and that's Lancelot Hogben. An especially valuable source is the work of R.J. Gillings, G-I-L-L-I-N-G-S. His book is called Mathematics and the Time of the Pharaohs. Although mathematical contributions were made throughout Africa, we will spend considerable time on the work in Egypt because it was from Egypt that Europe received